Hi, I'm Jan Harrell. I'm in beautiful Jefferson, Wisconsin, and I want to show you a new technique for getting decals that you make onto volumetric forms. This is the exciting world of forms. We are going to enamel these. I'm going to show you how to get the process going on these, but we also want to be able to put these beautiful designs on these spun forms. It's hard to do them on a spun form. Flat, generally very easy. But I'm going to show you how we can get from this product to this with some of the wonderful decals that we're going to make. This particular one has mica powders that have been screened onto decal paper. And look at the back of that. Yeah, you're going to learn how to put your signature on there. And then this little edge is done with some sunshine colors that have been sponged on there. This is really exciting to me because there's nothing I like better than taking enamel from a flat surface onto a round. And enamel really looks better that way, don't you think? So I want to introduce you to some screens that are really my favorite for the enameling process. These screens have a DPI. The holes in here are a little bit bigger, which becomes very important for the technique that I'm going to try to show you today. So these are 110. If you're familiar with some of the other screens that Cool Tool sells, these are about 160, and while they're beautiful and they give perfect detail, they're not good for everything that we use them for in enameling. So let me select one of these, and I'm going to do this rose pattern because today I'm going to use this beautiful, I guess roses are orange. They're going to be orange today. This mica powder, I'm going to mix it, and then I'm going to put it through a squeegee onto decal paper. So decal paper is something new for you. It is basically a carrier for whatever we put on top of it, and when it dries on top of this paper, we can cut little sections of this out and float it onto our piece, and that's how we get the detail down in these grooves, and that's a pretty deep relief on this piece. So you wouldn't be able to draw, well, I guess you could draw it, but we're not going to do that. We're going to put decals in the center. So I have the decal paper is your regular letter size. So it comes like this. It's got a shiny side to it, and then it has this flat back. When you get your decal paper in, go ahead and set it up and cut 4 sections out of here. And so that will give you 4 little baby decals that you're going to work with. The beauty part about decals is once you've done them, you have them in your repertoire forever. So you don't have to set up and do this every time you want to use just a small section that's decaled. I'm going to show you my little bag of tricks in a minute, but let's get on with this part. I'm going to take one of the sections. I've taped my paper down with blue tape because I get kind of aggressive with this, and I don't want stuff to move. I'm going to put my decal paper underneath here, and there's a good and bad side to it. You want to not screen on the shiny side. So the shiny side actually has your active material on it that can get abraded, but I must say I've used these for a number of years and I haven't done anything really special to take care of them. They last a long time. But I'm going to turn it upside down. Can you see the matte side to that? It has a bigger header at the top. I'm going to position that above my decal paper. I'm going to take some blue tape and secure that down. I like to get this part out of the way and done. Now, I could screen 10 pages of this if I wanted to, and then I would have this forever, and once they dry, I'm going to put them in a little folder and I'll have them together. But today I'm just going to screen one. So I've got the mica powder, and I've also got this gel medium. I'm going to mix them together, and if you've seen a couple of the other videos, you are aware that mica powder gets airborne, it's finely ground, and you need to wear a mask for that. It's still kind of a mess, so don't sneeze on it while you're working on it. I need enough that I can charge the screen, which means puts a full bead across the top of here. I'm going to mix about that much. At home, when I have a couple of favorite colors, I love my golds. I mix up quite a lot of it and I keep the lid on it because I know I'm going to probably screen in the next week or so, and it keeps very nicely as long as you have the lid on here. So I'm going to dip about the same amount. And then you have to do that little, you know, like you were working with oil paints. Whoop. So another thing about mica powders, when you put them on an enamel surface and it looks like you've put on a real thick coat, that's kind of false. Most of it falls off. And the only area of the mica powder that sticks is the stuff that touches the enamel. So some of you have used that wonderful white marker board. The marker board doesn't have a lot of enamel on it, so it doesn't hold a whole lot of this mica powder. But if you put it on grain enamel has more heft to it, and it will hold more. This is looking pretty good, except for all the messes here. Another thing, I'm sure I'm talking to some people who have done silk screens before. When you charge the screen, it uses the most enamel that you'll ever use because it fills the holes. So if I wanted to process 4 more of these, it would probably use a lot less. So this one charging of the screen to me is kind of wasteful. I like to get out more decal paper because decal paper is cheap, and who knows when I'm going to need some more of it. So that's kind of a good bead on the top of there. I'm going to take this squeegee and I'm going to pull towards myself, and that's kind of a 45-degree angle. Oh man, and you could see the little area that I didn't pick up there. Now I usually pull about 2 times. Anytime we put extra product in the kiln, it's just something that has to burn away. And then you want to slowly pull this up. Oh man, that's gorgeous. Now, you want to anchor this to the back because the minute this flops over while you're pulling this piece of decal paper out, you're getting this mica powder where you don't want it. So, you know, put a lid or something back here, pull your decal paper out, and then this has to dry completely. But look at the detail on that. I'm just going to do one more because it's more efficient. So I put the second one underneath here. Now starting at the back, if you just flop this down, you're going to not register your pattern and it won't look as crisp. So I'm going to do another pull across here. And notice how much I've got left here. This is probably the most efficient use of mica powder and enamel that there is. Let's pull up a second one. So you could go all day long on this, and then you don't have to get all this stuff out ever again. These have to dry completely. I usually put them on top of a kiln if my kiln is on a hot plate, a mug warmer, but it takes a while for this to really get good and dry, so be sure it's dry. So we just saw the video of the mica powders and how we mixed the 2 compounds together, and I want to make this pretty clear. This will make a difference in what you're expecting out of your screens. If you mix, it's not the best drawing, but I do most of my artwork as enameling, not Photoshop. If you mix the gel medium with mica powders, sunshine colors, mason stains, or finely grain enamel, it's in a compound. This is the sturdiest that you will ever get, and they're very easy to float on, and you don't get anything floating off when we do that step. But, you know, you have a limited amount of colors, and wouldn't you love to have every single color of Thompson enamel that you love made into a decal? And I say, just say yes to that. So here's my other drawing. So what we're doing in this next step is we're going to take the decal paper, we're going to put the screen down, we're going to run the gel medium through there, and we're going to sprinkle the grain enamel on the outside. So it makes sense that the finer the grain of this enamel is, the more crisp your design will be. If you have a fairly large pattern, don't take the extra time to grade sift. But if you've got a really tight pattern, go ahead and grade sift. So I'm going to show you both of those steps. Today we're going to make this lovely thing. So this is the line work that I would get on my piece. This is the screen. I've put it on top of the decal paper again that I've cut up. And in this, I have a 325 mesh. And of course you want a mask on when you're grade sifting. And I want the finest grains on here because they're going to stick better to my gel medium. So from now on, I'm going to call this glitter and glue. We're putting wet down, we're putting dry on top of it. So we're looking for the stuff that falls through the 325, which makes it like face powder, which is almost what sunshine colors and mason stains are. So I'm going to get this ready because there's a drying factor on here and I don't want anything to dry without me paying attention. So I've got my catch paper over here. I've got a 200 mesh screen here. I could use the 100 because I'm really just loading up a lot of enamel on to this piece. So I've got my pennies inside the 100 mesh. I'm going to get my enamel ready. I'm going to put it to the side. And I'm going to show you two different colors, which is why I like this technique. I'm going to sift with the 1820, and then I'm going to sift with the 1995 over on this side. So I'll have that one ready. When I'm teaching this in a class, sometimes we will produce, 7 different colors. And we're all just going to screen the gel medium on here. You've seen some of the other videos that Karen has done where she's screening directly on top of the marker board. And those are great, but we want to be able to coat curved surfaces, and this is really important. So I have the matte side facing me, the shiny side down. Oh, let me go ahead and load up the black over here. So I'm not going to take the time on this one to grade sift it. And I've got to steal a penny out of here. Okay, so you can see I've got these ready to go. And it's not that it dries so quickly. There is some working time on here, but if the dog barks or somebody's at the doorbell, you don't want to walk away from this stuff because it needs to get done in a timely manner. So once again, I'm going to lay a bead across the top of this. I'm going to take my squeegee and then I'm going to do a nice pull on that. Take my tweezers and lift this up, and once again, be sure you've got something to weight down that flop back. So that's a really technical term, isn't it? So I'm going to put one over here on the black. I'm going to take another piece of the decal paper, squeegee again. Can you see how efficient this would be? You spend a half an hour and you've got enough stuff in your little bag of tricks that when you're working on a little pendant piece and it needs just a little bit of something, you can go and look in your repertoire of stuff. I'm going to put the rest of the gel medium back in. And then I like to tell people, sift till you can't see the pattern anymore. Or you run out of enamel. So there we have it. And then you're going to do that. So this has to dry, and this takes a little bit longer than the mica powder mixed with in suspension with the other product. I'm going to put it over to dry, and then after it's completely dry, I'm going to take a soft brush and I will get some excess coming off of there. But isn't that just a gorgeous pattern? And we're going to be able to put that into a bowl form or a shallow plate and repeat this pattern. Let's do it over here on the black. I like black because that enables you to use some of the other fun things that we're going to be doing. Oh, 200, not much coming out. So I would probably load these up with 100 sifter, just because I'm lazy and this takes a little longer. But you want as much that the gel medium will absorb. And there we have the black. That looks good. And that's my fingerprint. Who cares? Somebody calls this the dump technique. I like glitter and glue, so it doesn't matter. So we're going to dry these, and then I'll show you how to float these onto a form. We're waiting for these to dry. Be sure and clean up your screens. I use a toothbrush and detergent, and then I hang them in a window for them to dry. They need to be completely dry before you squeegee anything else, because those little holes hold water and you're going to get a pattern that's not as distinct. And you want this crisp looking stuff that's impossible to get any other way. So put your enamels up and go over to the sink and clean all of your products here. So here we have this bowl. It's got a lot of different patterns and different colors that I've applied. Probably, I don't know, 5 firings in here, but it's nice because I can place them wherever I want to. These are all opaque colors, and we don't really use transparents for this technique just because they won't show up very much. Now I'm saying you can do them if you want to, but you're not going to get a lot of bang for your buck because we need the opaques on there. So I finished the back of this piece and I thought, that looks pretty lonely. So what does that need? Well, I think it needs a couple of green leaves on the back. So this is the nice part about having a repertoire of several patterns that are done with different colors. This was a sunshine green mixed with the gel medium. So once again, it's this one, which is your sturdiest. So sunshine colors mixed with the gel medium and then screened on decal paper through the screen. So I'm just going to pick a section of this out and cut. And maybe I'll float 2 or 3 different ones. So can you see how this would be a fabulous technique for doing small jewelry pieces, some earrings, pendant forms? And you can place this stuff exactly where you want it. If you're screening directly onto a piece, you can kind of tell where you are, but not as good as this method. So I've cut out 2 little pieces. I've got a bowl of water here. It doesn't matter if it's warm, lukewarm. And then I'm going to float one at a time in there. And it usually takes, maybe 30 seconds for those 2 to separate. And I just reach in here with my fingers and I can tell when it comes apart. And so that has come apart. And then I'm going to just position this where I want it. And then I'm going to take a paper towel and try to get the water out of here. Anytime, I've got a little bit of green here. Anytime you use decals and they're forming onto a piece, you need to be sure that it's very dry. So if it's a really intricate pattern, I will let it sit overnight because I know I'm going to repeat that pattern. You want all that water out of there. So we're going to put this on a hot plate in a little bit or a mug warmer and get all that out. I've got some green over here. Well. See the nice part about that? How sturdy this is? And that's because you have the medium and the coloring mixed in a suspension, and they go together. You can't really do this quite as lackadaisical as I'm doing it when you do the glitter and glue technique. I can wet this again so I can position it better. I like the fact that you could move these around. Let's get another leaf going in here. Now on some of these bowls, like this one, I floated a large section inside of here. This rose pattern is pretty forgiving, so you can't really tell if it overlaps a little bit, and you have to kind of pleat it when you go around the edge. So this should be ready. And I float the 2 apart. And notice the top, I'm putting the side that I just took off the decal paper. that's the piece that touches your surface. If I flip it over, the decal paper has to burn out first before the enamel hits it. I've always done it this way. And look, I'm being kind of rough on this and it's still being happy. Get those bubbles out of here. When I'm doing this on a hot plate, the first 5 minutes on your hot plate, oh, I got a wrinkle in it, is the most important. So I stand there until this surface gets a little warm and I keep pressing down to get all those bubbles out of there. If you get bubbles underneath here and they never adhere, you're not going to get the repeat of your pattern because you just get this bubble there. And look, isn't that fun that you can kind of move these guys around and, you know, do some design stuff. I like the fact that you can make it come off the edge and then that can be trimmed later on. When you're firing sunshine colors, so this is sunshine colors, we like to stay at about 1350. For this size form, I would say probably about 2 minutes. You're just lightly bonding whatever you've put on top of it with the base coat. You're not trying to burn out anything. But isn't that pretty? Look, see, I can still move them around how I want to. And sometimes I can't make up my mind. So, I'll let these dry. But look at that. I could even take a few of these, because this is a different green, and I could float them on the front. The other thing that's really good about decals, most enamels, when we fire them in the kiln, we never fire with the enamel upside down because, you know, you're just testing gravity. And if you don't go in a hot kiln and you stay in not enough time, this enamel that you put, raw enamel here, is just going to drop into your bottom of your kiln and make a big mess. Believe me, I've done that before. But these are already stuck. So there's not enough enamel on here to drop into your kiln. So you can fire right side up or upside down. And on these formed pieces, that's important because we don't want what I'm going to call later on in another video, trivet marks, the dreaded trivet marks. You can see a little one right here, or maybe you won't see it. I know what I'll do. I'll put that leaf over that trivet mark and then you'll never see it. So I've had this drying for a while and I want to show you, it's really important for you to take this extra step. Look at how much enamel is coming off of there. So this was the glitter and glue technique. You want a nice soft brush, but if I had floated a section of this in water, all these little loose particles would kind of stay with the decal, and if I was firing this on a dark color, you'd see those little specks, and that might not be what you want for your final design. So I think that the glitter and glue technique is the most economical use of grain enamel. When I was going to teach this at one time, I had an 8-ounce jar of enamel and I screened huge sheets, maybe 20 of the big decal paper, and I poured this back into the container and I had only used maybe ½ an inch. It's just amazing. So now this is ready. I like to put the number on it because, you know, some days I'm brain dead. If I want to fit this into my folder, I have smaller sections here, so I use an X-Acto knife and cut this extra off. But you do want to keep the numbers on here, so if you're trying to match up or use it on something, you know what you're working with. Let's go ahead and float this on a piece. So let me clear this off and I'll get a piece ready to show you how the grain enamel floats a little bit differently than the enamel that's put into the gel medium. So here is our beautiful glitter and glue 1820 that we've screened through our nice screens. And I've got a fold form piece here that I did a while back. And I just want a small section in here that I'm going to kind of embellish with this. I could probably take a pattern over the top of that, but I think I can freeform this pretty easily. So let's just kind of do this wedge going through the middle. And, oh, that looks pretty good. The other thing, after we've dried this on top of the piece, if you don't like where it is, maybe it overlapped a little bit here, when this is perfectly secured to the piece, you can take an X-Acto knife and cut back into that. So sometimes I just get in the general vicinity. Maybe design-wise it'd be better up there. I don't know. Oh, down here. That looks good. So I'm going to soak this in water. Now, when you're using the glitter and glue, don't walk away from this because this will eventually float up. So you have to be there kind of testing it with your finger, and the minute it dissolves away from the decal paper, you need to bring it over here. So I'm a little more picky when I've got the grain enamel because it's not that forgiving. But you can use every color of enamel that you own, and I think that's worth working with this. And people say, well, what do you fire this at? Well, what do you fire 1820 at? You know, it's the enamel. Oh yeah, that's better. And see how fun that is to position that exactly where you want it. And you could move it around, you could, you know, test it in this area. And because we took the extra residue off with that soft brush, that's not that bad there. Let's go with that. We don't have any extra grains floating around. Now I'm really pushing down on this. Now I don't really know what they call this clear stuff. I'm going to call it decal jelly because I like that word. Can you see that it's a little stiff right now? The minute we start heating this up just a little bit on top of your kiln, on a mug warmer, whatever, this starts to combine and really get a little bit more elastic. And then you can really see where your holes are in here. So that first 5 to 10 minutes when you've got this on a hot plate, don't walk away from it. Once that little bubble has formed and you've got an air pocket in there, it's not going away. Now, I'll be able to cut all this extra off after it's perfectly dry. And see that line? I'll probably take an X-Acto knife and cut down there so it repeats the pattern of the fold forming. But this is the beauty of doing this extra step, that you're able to silkscreen something on top of here, position it exactly where you want it, and then go back and refine it in any way you want to. Or take it off. You know, if I say, I just don't like this, doesn't look good. You haven't really spent a lot of money working on this. So I'm going to dry this and we'll fire it later on. So we've got this one. We've got this one. You've seen the ones that I've produced today. But look at this. This is what's going to make you happy. I have in here, I probably have 3 separate gold decals of this on paper, many designs, and look, anytime you're working on a piece and it just needs a little something, just pull out your wonderful little folder here. I've got the color numbers listed on here, the different patterns, but in each one of these, I've probably got, see how many of those? So I can choose from those. And then at the back, when I'm cutting out small sections of them, I just put them back in here. The one I have at home is probably 4 times this big because I do a lot of this. But this is what you're working towards, is making a little repertoire of your designs that you like, and then the colors that you like to use them in. I'm going to reference this black here because in some of Karen's videos, she's used the P1. P1 used to be my go-to black, but I was comparing it against the Sunshine Black. The Sunshine Black actually is a finer grain and it goes in the holes a little bit better. So if you're looking for a nice dense black like this, I would go with the Sunshine and then I would mix it with this gel medium. That's going to be your densest black. And I know for those of us who really want to paint in between the lines, we need a nice dense black that will, and look at the detail on that. So Sunshine over P1. There's a P1, but it looks pretty good. So, start your own folder. I hope this adds some new tools to your enameling toolbox and you will continue in this wonderful art form. Thank you for watching.